6:47 here on Breakfast Business with Vincent Waller. I'm delighted to welcome into studio, which is unusual these days, David Denver, Senior Vice President, Northern Europe and Israel with Excite. David, not an awful lot of people outside your industry have heard of Excite, I think, which is fair to say, but I noticed you in the latest Irish Times top 1,000 Irish companies, and you're the 60th largest company in Ireland by turnover and the 5th largest construction company. Tell us what Excite do. You're a privately owned German company. You run their Northern European division.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. Good morning to you and good morning to all your listeners. So Excite, you're right. It's not a household name. It's formerly known as the M&W Group. We are an engineering construction company which operates globally, servicing our clients in the high-tech sectors. We're about to turn 110 years old. So there's a long pedigree there. And globally, we have 6,200 employees. What we do is we engineer and we build the facilities for the blue chip companies. So ultimately, the companies that provide the microchips for devices, the batteries for EV, vaccines and drugs for medical treatment, and for the companies who store the data that we use on a continuous basis. Our projects are, we like to think, are part of the changing of society today, such as the new ways of working and the new ways of living, which we're all experiencing at the moment.
When you say you engineer the construction of their facilities, of their major plants, what do you mean? Do you mean you actually oversee the full project management from start to finish?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have a product or a service that they need to provide, and we engineer and build the facility for them so that they can operate and produce their product and services.
Now that you don't necessarily do much of the construction yourself. You basically plan it with them, and you decide then what major subcontractors come in to provide the various components.
Absolutely. That's we do self-perform some of the work ourselves, but in the main we would rely on our delivery partners and the supply chain to provide. It's high-tech equipment. It's highly intricate equipment that's used in order to manufacture these processes, right? So if you're looking at chips, if you're looking at medical products, there's a lot of process element to it. So you need to have highly specialized equipment that comes in, and we would house them within the facility, clean environments, managing the processes, the gases, the chemicals, and the purified water and items of that nature, the waste treatment systems, and making sure that we're regulatory compliant, environmentally compliant, and all of the regulations.
That's a major part of it now. Almost as much of a work stream as actually building the facilities is getting all those regulatory requirements right.
For sure, absolutely. And that's why we're in those markets. We're in markets where it's semiconductor, it's biopharma, life sciences, batteries, data centers, because they are highly regulated, but they have a process and they need a clean environment in order to manufacture their product or their service, if it's a data center, for example. So, from an Excite Group perspective, from a global perspective, we've had a great 2021. We're up 20% on sales revenue globally. And similarly, that flows down to our profit. And in Ireland, we're here 20 years. As I said, we're not a household name, but we are here 20 years. And we've just had a great year. We've built up a fantastic pool of professionals. And we're delivering the largest private investment in the history of the Irish state at the moment. So
the nature of these things, you sometimes can't name some of the big clients that you work for because
we're confidential.
It's shrouded in secrecy. Yeah. Give us some flavour of the complexity of project managing a major upgrade or new build for a life science company, for a health company, for a consumer food company, for a data centre. As you're actually building, they can be changing the spec that they require, can't they?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So to give you we're in the engineering and construction market, but there's subgroups within it, and we're in the high-tech engineering and construction market. To give you a bit of a festive analogy, so if you're making a meal, you might make scrambled eggs on toast, right? It's a meal, it's nice, you can go wrong. But the way that I would see what we do is like making the perfect Christmas dinner, to be festive about it every day. The complex nature of it that we have to do. We're continuously dealing with the design that's evolving, trying to adapt to the changing technologies.
And can that design actually change within months from what you originally thought you had to build?
For sure. We progress with what we can, but because of the technological advancements in what's going to be produced, the design of the facility has to change to accommodate that. So, yeah, we will be making changes during the construction process. So the one constant in our business is change, if you get me. So, yeah, look, it's always a challenge. You know, it can be a greenfield, it can be a brownfield, or it can be a retrofit. So you just have to be flexible and agile in your approach. The people that you have that are project managing or engineering these solutions, they have to be very, passionate, driven, and resilient, is what I would say.
And I presume in building a major microchip plant or a life sciences plant to make new drugs, it's really important that you get certain parts of the facility in place before others move in. If you get the sequence wrong, it could make a right omelette of it, to use your food analogy.
Yeah, well, if you're making scrambled eggs, you don't want to end up with an omelette, right? So, yeah, look, it's we are building. We're part of a chain, right? We're a link in the chain, and we, if I may, we might be a few links in the chain, but ultimately we're building a facility that the operations team of our clients will produce their product or their service. So we're building a facility that hand it over to operations, and they get into their manufacturing process through their operations teams. So we're enabling their product, but you have to remember these are blue chip clients, so they have their own specifications and requirements, and we build around that. So we're catering to their specific needs at all times. And there's a good phrase, good clients make good projects. So we feel we have great clients.
Tell us about some of the rapid evolution of what you do. Increasingly, construction is done off-site, lean manufacturing, I think they call it lean engineering, off-site. You're doing this yourselves. And then this very complex plant machinery, whole facilities transported off-site onto the actual site of the plant itself.
Yeah, look, that's where the industry's going. And the challenges of working for innovative clients is that we also have to be innovative. And one of those things, as you mentioned, is off-site manufacturing. So what we're trying to do is to take as much of the construction away from the coalface and adopt manufacturing practices and principles, because you're doing it in a controlled environment. Because if not, you could be quite literally doing it in a field. So there's a few very obvious and very immediate improvements that you'll find if you're able to design it early enough to be able to build it off-site and ship it to the site. So you have to get your design done early. But there's great safety improvements because you're working in a controlled environment, but also the quality is generally better. So there is a good control over safety, the quality, and the time, because you're not dependent on the
But what
variables.
about the logistics then of getting all that stuff, perhaps even across borders, to the construction site?
Oh, look, it's a huge challenge. Like what we're dealing with at the moment, and logistically, is becoming a major part of our project delivery. Even with the equipment that we're dealing with, it has to be sourced from anywhere in the world because it's so specialized. So logistics is a major part of what we do. Both site logistics to move in these big modules, these big pieces of equipment, get them into place, but also the logistics of getting it to the site and managing that. It's part of an expertise that we have as well through our procurement processes, is managing that down to the minutiae. A big challenge.
You employ about 300 people in the Northern Europe division. Most of those in Ireland, many of them Irish. There are Irish people and executives in this project management and major facility construction sectors all over the world now. Why is that? Why have the Irish become so successful at that?
Well, this, for sure, from an Irish perspective, we certainly punch above our weight here. If you look across the client companies, as you say, there's a load of people operating, a lot of Irish people operating at the executive level within these companies. My own assessment of it is, why is that? I think Ireland's done a fantastic job in attracting the FDI. You saw in your last segment that the GDP is up this year, and that's a lot to do with FDI. And through the 90s and the noughties, a lot of our construction industry and engineering industry would have cut our teeth, learned the lessons, understand the dynamics of these facilities, what's required to get them over the line, and the quality requirements that are there. And from that, you can really see that the executives in these companies, there's a very good representation of Irish. Actually, indeed, in our company, in Excite Group, two of my colleagues in Singapore are VPs, both Irish gentlemen. So, like the Irish, I would say at the executive level, the Irish within project management level, but then the Irish construction market is doing phenomenally well, servicing a lot of these high-tech customers right across Ireland, UK and Europe.
And building relations corporately with these major multinationals is critical to actually winning the business on the ground.
For sure. Look, we're a client-centric organisation. That's the way we work. That's why we have our sectors, and we've very strong key account management principles. We follow our customers. That's the way that we work. So developing up those relationships is part global, part local. You have to have both. So you have to have the global relationships, because if a client wants a job done by us simultaneously, Ireland, Israel and the US, they expect the exact same service. So we as a multinational corporate have to behave in that manner to deliver the product perfectly.
And very, very briefly, you are looking for graduates to join you?
Always. And it's a great industry. You know, if you're looking for a career that's dynamic, that's fast paced, this is the place for you. And we have a graduate program that's open now. So taking candidates, and always happy to see new faces.
Sounds like an exciting future ahead. David Denver, Senior Vice President, Northern Europe and Israel with Excite. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Many thanks, Vincent.